Good morning and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. Tony Campolo used to tell the story about when they were being taught about public prayer during seminary. Each student was to write a prayer and turn it in for the professor to make comments. When Campolo got his prayer back, the professor had written on the top of the page, "Tony, you can't convince people that God is great and you are great in the same prayer." In fact, public prayer is hard. So very often, public prayers may address the crowd or situation that they have gathered for very well. But the problem is that prayer is supposed to be addressed to God. We are supposed to speak to God, and the rest of those listening are supposed to assent or add their hearts to the prayer. Finding that balance is tricky. Over the years of my ministry, I have found that the only way I can do this authentically is to think about what I need to pray about, intentionally shut my eyes, and actively forget about the others around me. That way, I've found I can talk with God. Having said that, sometimes there are prayers that somehow speak both ways. Sometimes prayers are written that speak profoundly to God and at the same time inspire us in our living and in our own prayers. That's what we are looking at this week. I have found some prayers that are well known and even famous, and I'm going to present them to you, perhaps with a comment or two as well. Today we want to start with one I'm sure you know or at least have heard. It's called the Serenity Prayer, and part of it has been adopted by Alcoholics Anonymous. You've heard the part, "God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." It's a powerful prayer for those facing any addiction or circumstance beyond their control. A prayer that does indeed bring us serenity and peace. The prayer was most likely written by American theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, probably in the late 1930s, although his authorship is disputed by some. And while we know that part of the prayer I've already said, we may never have realized that there is more to the prayer than just those lines. The full prayer is, "God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right. That you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen." True peace does indeed come to us when we give our struggles over to God. In much the same way, a prayer by John Wesley, founder of the Methodist Church, invites us to entrust our lives completely to God. Wesley wrote the covenant prayer as an adaptation of a Puritan prayer, and he expected people to use it especially at the beginning of a new year or at a baptism. This prayer is, "I am no longer my own, but yours. Put me to what you will. Place me with whom you will. Put me to doing. Put me to suffering. Let me be put to work for you or set aside for you, praised for you or criticized for you. Let me be full. Let me be empty. Let me have all things. Let me have nothing. I freely and fully surrender all things to your glory and service. And now, O wonderful and holy God, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, You are mine, and I am yours. So be it. And the covenant which I have made on earth, let it also be made in heaven. Amen. To pray such a prayer and mean it requires a powerful faith. May these prayers be found in our hearts and lived in our lives. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.